Oos, this is Kaminari 2012. I'm going to be giving a guide to StoneHearth, the Alpha 10.5 build. StoneHearth is a city builder. It has aspects of defense incorporated into it. It feels a lot like Minecraft from above, and you're really just assigning people to do different tasks to build your city. I'm going to go through first picking our map, and then I'm going to give a in-depth guide to how to do everything in this game, and then I'm going to show you the first steps to play the game. So let's start right now. I'm going to start a new game. Quick thing, you have a normal game, peaceful game. Normal game is the more interesting one because you're going to have goblins raiding and different events that happen with that. So this is how you pick out your map. If you have the game, you already know this. But this is the map they generate for you. And this is randomly generated, or at least they have a lot of them. The three aspects you're looking at are trees and plants, wildlife, and minerals. Wildlife is important for early game to provide food. Um, Sorry, I had something pop up. Minerals are for getting metals, tin, gold, um, iron, etc. And then you use these with your blacksmith like game to build better armor, shields, weapons, etc. And you also need that to get stone, which is important to get your mason and to start building those brick walls or those stone buildings that you might want. And then you trees. Trees are used for everything else. And generally speaking, if you have at least a three in the tree category right here, you're going to be fine because um, if you cut down that first initial area you're in, the little box you make for yourself, you're going to have enough for the first 30 minutes of the game. And that is encompassing really making a lot of things you don't need to sell to merchants, which is a key to this game. That's how you get the money to have the wealth that you need to get more citizens later on, based on the three aspects they look for. Now, as you see in the map, I have a bunch of choices. You can pick any one of these boxes. You're not just picking that box to work in. It's not like, oh, I'm only going to have this box, and the mountains aren't going to be there anymore. No, what happens is that it actually focuses the map around the spot you pick and sectionalizes a piece of it off, something like that. Um, and then you'll work with that. So if you're anywhere near these mountains, you'll probably be fine. I always like to be as close as I can to get a good sort of minerals, something like this. If you can find something with a little bit more wildlife, that's obviously great. But as long as there's wildlife in the area around it, you're going to be okay. So something like here might be really good. One other thing you could note, though, when you do this is that these plateaus are really good for helping you to manage attacking waves. And by being in a higher area, you cut the areas they can come at you from significantly. So for this game, I'm going to, for the heck of it, I'm actually going to stay here, even though it's not the best. But there's a lot of animals here, so I kind of want it. And we're going to pick somewhere that has a balance, and this is what I usually go for: three trees and three minerals. And let's just pick there. Um, So first things first, I'm going to name my city. It's going to be called Settlement 6. It's the sixth settlement I've made, and generally that's because, well, I screwed up the first time and deleted. I closed the game without saving, and then I ran into a really bad error on one of the games. So here's the controls: space and moving your mouse will move you around. WASD will move you right, left, up, down, forward, backwards. And then you could always just use your right mouse key, and that's generally what I do because it's easier. Now you'll see that first things first, we picked that one spot all the way in next to the mountains, and it looks like that's what we got, but you can see that it's bigger than we thought, and it also encompasses that little lake they had here, the mountain range over here, part of it. It goes up to some portion of that mountain up there, not all the way up, but as you can see, it gets to a small section of that area we had before. Now, you can pick anywhere on this map to actually start, so you just pick the center location for it. Now, I did pick here because I want to work here, and so I'm going to stay there. Now remember to turn around and rotate your map. You just hold the right mouse button and just move it around, and that's fine. WASD will get you up, down, forward, backwards, right, left. Sorry, I always say the wrong words for that. Up, down, forward, backwards. Not the same, but for some reason in my head they are. So you can see this is the plateau I was talking about. This will help you defend against really them popping up here, so you have a little bit more security. You don't have to worry about it. Now you might have some here, but you can block these off pretty easily. So building walls is important in this game and can help you a lot. So to really show you how to play this game, I need to start my little settlement. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start it right here. Let's put it right here. And so let me just name it. It's settlement 6, isn't it? And there we go. So I'm going to pause the game right here to start going through how to play this game. So the first thing you should know how to do is designate zones. And so the only zone you can really designate right now is stockpile. And this is for the resources you gather, the trees when we harvest them, the mountain when we start to break in there and get rock and tin and gold and copper and iron ingots, iron ore that we make in ingots later with the blacksmith. And also we designate, and then all the other materials that you make. For example, what your blacksmith makes, what your carpenter makes, what your mason makes. Other places you can designate are farming zones, which you can see requires a farmer. We can't make that right now, and that's something we'll get onto in a second. The purpose of jobs and skills. And you can put these anywhere, and you'll get a selection of different crops you can put in them. There's faster growing things like turnips, carrots, pumpkins, and slower growing things such as corn, which is actually the most. I think it provides a bonus to happiness with your food. You can also start growing silk or silk-like thread or something like that, and that's for your weaver. So you don't have to look around because you can't really find it. It's really hard to find. A trapper. Around now, this is for those little creatures we saw before, those wildlife, and that's vital for the early game. And they usually provide you with the materials to upgrade the carpenter and the trapper right away, because you have no other way to get food. Because you need to get the tools to. Well, I'll go over that in a minute, but you need the tools to get a farmer, and that's not something you can do right now. And the last thing is a shepherd, and this is you will bring those animals over here, and you'll have them graze, and you'll have a constant supply of them coming through. I haven't actually used this one, but generally speaking, that's what it is. It's another tool you have to build to be able to get that job. So I'll designate a spot right now because why not? I usually put it over here, and it might be better to wait until I cut down the trees. So let's go to the next aspect, your harvesting tools. So you have harvest trees, which works like this. I'm going to harvest a lot at the beginning. It's usually what I do. And you right click it to get rid of that tool, and so these are all marked to harvest. You can also get rid of that by clearing your item out by canceling the tasks like this, and clearing items out of this world. I think that's for when you have an item that you just getting rid of it, you're destroying it, and you have a choice there. They give you an option to back away. The next thing you can do is mine, and so you have two options for here. One is a block format, and it just takes a 4x4 cube, and I prefer this to anything else. And then you have your single block. And generally speaking, you should just do this and try and keep it level with the map, because going down provides a lot of problems with being able to see. And I'll show you how to deal with that in a minute. Because until that's dug, it's kind of not really going to be easy to see what's happening with that. And those tools you're going to be using are these. So that's the harvesting section. So really you're just harvesting the wood, and you're harvesting and you're mining. Everything else will be done through your designated zones, your crops for your food, and your trapper for your food, and your shepherd for your food, and your designated areas for things. One thing I did forget to say is that the designated stockpile can be used to stockpile different goods. You can pick what kind of goods you want to stockpile in there, whether they basic resources or they are finished goods. So apparently I gave that order too soon, so they're already working on that. So let me build a big stockpile, and I'm just going to let it be everything at first, because I want them to gather those resources. As you can see, we can make it just resources, we can make it construction materials, we can make it tools, we can make it weapons and armor, food, wealth. I'm actually going to just make these resources right now. So it kind of centralizes all that activity. And let the game proceed so we can get this clear map so I can start explaining more things. Uh, so I said before that you need a farmer, you need a trapper, you need a shepherd to do these things. And the reason why is because the whole game focuses on your citizens management, their ability to learn their skills, assignment of jobs to enable new technologies and proceeding in the game. Um, so let's look at our citizens and see what they're like. And so you start the game generally with around 7 citizens, and they all have different characteristics. And when you open them up, you can press on their little tool button. That will change based on their job. You'll open it up and you'll see their statistics, their numbers, and you also see what they're wearing. So this is will change based on jobs, and if you get better materials, they'll grab them. They'll switch out to better weapon, or they'll switch out to better clothes, etc. You'll see health, morale. But the big thing here is your mind, body, and spirit, and these are the 3 aspects of a person that you have to deal with in this game, and they affect their attributes. So body affects muscle, speed, and stamina. Mind affects diligence, curiosity, inventiveness, and spirit affects courage, willpower, and compassion. Um, and these will affect what jobs they're good at. So, for example, a soldier would want a high body and high spirit because if they don't have courage, they actually will run away from enemies. They will not fight them, and that makes them a useless soldier. Conversely, someone working on the farm, when you want to have a muscle and speed and stamina, and someone who does a shepherding work, you want speed. Once again, it depends on what you're doing. Craftsmen, you want to have more diligence, curiosity, inventiveness, and then courage, willpower, and compassion. You want to have that hard work and that ethic. And so those are the attributes you're going to look at to decide jobs. Now, obviously, you'll see that every character is a little bit different. I seem to have had a decent lot this time, which is nice to see. Um, and so the way you assign jobs, so we know what the characters are, we have to kind of assign the jobs and what they'd be good for. So I'm actually going to find someone who's ideally suited to being a craftsman for me, a carpenter. Carpenter's your most important guy in this game. And so now that I have picked him, you click on the scroll to change his job. So right now he's a worker. And these are the jobs that are available in this game. You have a blacksmith, which requires a hammer. You have a carpenter, which requires a carpenter saw, which you get in the beginning of the game. You have a farmer, which requires a hoe. You have a soldier, which requires a practice sword. You have a mason, which requires a mallet and a chisel. You have a trapper, which requires a trapper's knife. And you have a weaver, which requires a weaver's spindle. And so you can pick between these jobs, and people are better suited to one or the other, and you promote them to them. Now, as it said, it has a base requirement. So these were already given to us at the beginning because you don't have a blacksmith to be able to make a carpenter's saw at the beginning. But the carpenter is the key to every other single category because the carpenter can make the mason's mallet and chisel, crafted by the carpenter, and then the mason can build the blacksmith's hammer. And that's the chain you're going into. A soldier you can make right away as soon as you make a wooden sword, which once again craftsman has to make. And the weaver needs to have his tool made by the craftsman as well. Uh, Now, I usually don't mess with the weaver until later in the game. I think that you can get better clothing for your individuals, and I'm not really sure how they affect them, whether they make them faster or make them happier. There's some kind of aspect to it because they have warmer coat and upgraded coat later on from them. But I tend to just stay away and not waste the personnel on a weaver position yet because these are important to getting your game, your city running. You need a trapper early game to get food. You need your craftsman to start the upgrading cycle and to build uh, certain parts of your buildings, doors and windows, and to build the sword for a swordsman and build the hoe for the farmer. And you really need to get him up really quickly. And then obviously moving on to the mason and etc. So you kind of understand now that you have to upgrade jobs. So right now I'm going to show you I'm going to upgrade to my carpenter, which is a big thing for me. And he's not automatically upgraded. You'll see that he's promoting. And what it means is that he's going to have to wait till he gets to your stockpile or wherever our saw was located, which is right here. And he's going to become a carpenter. Um, and there you go. So now he's changed clothing. He's an awesome looking carpenter. And he's nothing to do yet because we haven't assigned him anything. Um, so the jobs kind of set up upgrading and changing the game forward. The carpenter is the first person you need, and without him, you can't do almost anything. You can, if you build a building with your building tab, which I'll explain in a little bit, you're not going to be able to add those windows or add those doors because you're not going to have the built door to put in there. Um, and so that's what you get with your carpenter. He's going to be able to make that for you. Now, a lot of people build their building and they set up their resources and start gathering things, and they get their mountain and they're working into there, and they have their trees cut down, they have their farm started, and they're worrying, how do I well, they don't have their farm started, but they don't know how to proceed. They don't know how to get past this. How do I make my farm or anything? And you do that by just clicking on your carpenter and saying, build a workshop. And uh, right there. So build a workshop and you click it down. And this is where you're going to be able to access your workshop. You can click it here as well. And you're going to start being able to use him to build those things. Now, generally, everything you can do at the beginning, and most of the time, it's just going to require one wood, of which we have a lot of right now. So let's let that proceed and have them do that. In the meantime, we need to also set up our trapper, which we're going to want to be a little bit quicker, but not to waste too good assets on him in terms of potential. Want someone who doesn't have courage because we want to have a good soldier. And so this is the person we're going to choose. Yufa, she's going to be upgraded to a trapper. Now, let me show you how you designate the trapping area. Uh, Now, he hasn't been promoted yet, like last time. We have to wait till he's promoted. See, he just got promoted to a trapper. You'll see the blue or red flag that indicates this. And so we're going to put a trapping area. Now, remember there were some kind of animals over here, so we're just going to throw the trapping area over here, kind of haphazardly, and just tell him to, yeah, start trapping there. And that will start to provide us food in the beginning of the game. Um, so now we can go into this carpenter's bench, and you can figure out how to start your getting your hoe and other tools you need to start upgrading your units. And so all you have to do is click on this anvil, and you'll start to see the things he can do. Now the white ones are things he's not leveled up to do, and this is another aspect of the characters that I didn't really explain completely, but job abilities. Once you assign a job, they have a list of levels and they get better abilities as they go on. For this, is just better craftsmanship, better things they can do. Basically, the only big important one is level 1 because it opens up all the tree right now. A soldier will have better attack, different attack options as he goes further up that. But so first thing you want to build is you want to build hoes. And this will allow you to make that farmer. Uh, and I usually build get some swords as well, so I can start making soldiers because it's good to have at least one ready. Okay, this is where we're going to end the first video. I hope that you've learned some good tips and ideas on how to play StoneHearth. I'm going to continue on in the second video dealing with going over town info and the effect on leveling up your town, getting new citizens, dealing with how to build and design your own houses, some things to watch out for, fighting and defending, how to deal with that. There are some things there. They seem simple possibly, but there are things that can happen that get annoying. Please listen or watch if you're having problems. This is actually how the town would look at the end of the second video. If I just add a closer there. My other town, I'll show you my good 2-3 hour town that I've built up at the end of one of my videos, and you can see where I get when I really focus on things. But I hope you watched, I hope you like the video. Please like me if you did. You like these explanations, how I'm going about this. I love to make more of these if people actually enjoy watching them. Yeah, so I'm Kaminari 2012. Mata ne.